Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Attorney Alfonso Roma. I will be your lecturer for Criminal Law Book 2 of the Revised Penal Code. We'll start with Article 114, treason. Now, as we go along the way, we will touch on basic principles and theories as already discussed in Book 1 of the Revised Penal Code. We cannot include them all in the topic of Book 2 because you already taken the basic principles and theories in Book 1 of the same RPC. Okay? Treason. Treason is under crimes against national security and the laws of nation. Treason is stated in Article 114. Any Filipino citizen who levies war against the Philippines or adheres to her enemies, giving them aid or comfort within the Philippines or elsewhere, shall be punished by reclusion perpetua. Reclusion perpetua is 20 years and 1 day to 40 years, and shall pay a fine not to exceed 100,000 pesos. Now, treason is a simple crime to remember. There is a war, the Philippines is participant of a war, and the person levies war against the Philippines. A levying war, as I've told you before, means actual assembling of man for the purpose of treasonable acts. Now, treason, muna siya pag-traidor sa kaugalingon nimong nasod. If that person, for the purpose of committing treasonable design or purpose or acts, assembles men to wage war against the government of the Philippines, that is treason. Now, you have to remember that in treason, there is a war. The Philippines, our country, is participants into the war, and the persons liable for treason are those persons who levies war against the Philippines in favor of a foreign country. If there is no foreign country, it could be rebellion. If there is no foreign country, there is no war against or between countries, so it could be rebellion in the sense. If it is a conflict, a civil conflict within our country, the crime could be rebellion or sedition. So just remember that in treason there is a war between countries, and the Philippines is a participants into that war, and the persons liable is the one levying war against the Philippines in favor of the foreign country. Now, the first way of committing treason is by levying war against the Philippines, which is understood in the sense is which is, as already said, in the sense that there is assembling of men for the purpose of overthrowing the government of the Philippines or defeating the country in that war. That's the first way of committing treason, levying war against the Philippines. The second way is in the second sentence or second clause of the paragraph. All adheres to her enemies, giving them aid or comfort. So, the persons liable adheres to the enemy and give them aid or comfort. Now again, there is a war between Philippines and a foreign country. The persons liable adhere, ninglaban siya sa pikas, and ihatagan niya og aid or comfort ang enemy country. Now, if you will remember Article 2 of the revised penal code, as provided or provides for application of the provisions of the revised penal code. And in treason, it can be committed outside the jurisdiction of the country because the existence of the state is at stake. So this is one of the crimes stated in Article 2 of the revised penal code, which is the exceptions to the territorial jurisdiction of our penal laws. Aliens is also liable for treason, provided that the alien is residing in the Philippines. Now, if the alien is not residing in the Philippines, he cannot commit treason because there should be assembling of men and or adhering to the enemy, giving them aid or comfort. So if that alien is outside the jurisdiction of the country, he is not, or he could not commit treason. The exception for that is that if the alien is in conspiracy with a Filipino citizen who is residing outside the country. Because in that sense, that person, the Filipino citizen, is committing treason, and regardless of the territorial jurisdiction where the Filipino citizen is committing treason, he is liable in our jurisdiction. So if the alien, as stated in Article 144, conspires with a Filipino citizen or Filipino citizens committing treason outside the jurisdiction of the Philippines, he will also be liable for treason, even though he is living abroad. And Article 155, conspiracy and proposal to commit treason. Now, as you learned earlier in Book 1 of the Revised Penal Code, conspiracy and proposal are not crime or are not crime in itself except as provided for the law. Conspiracy in itself without action is not punishable by law, except if the law states that a certain conspiracy is unlawful. That is what Article 115 provides. Article 115 provides that conspiracy or proposal to commit treason shall be punished by prison mayor, etc., etc. Now, why is that conspiracy and proposal to commit treason is punishable by law when the general rule is that conspiracy alone or proposal alone without the intended act done or committed is not punishable? Is that because if the conspirator or the purpose of the conspiracy is treason, and if they succeeded, the existence of the state is also at stake. The existence of the state is in danger. So that's why conspiracy and proposal to commit treason is punishable by law. The general rule under Article 8 of the Revised Penal Code, conspiracy and proposals to commit felonies are not per se punishable, in its face. Now, what is conspiracy? Conspiracy, if you may recall, is when two or more persons come to an agreement concerning the commission of a felony and decide to commit it. That's conspiracy. There is a proposal when a person who has decided to commit a felony proposes its execution to some other person or persons. So that's Article 8, conspiracy and proposal to commit felony. Now, conspiracy and proposal as a general rule, kanang magsabot-sabot lang to commit a crime, is not punishable by law. The exception is, as you may find in Article 115, in crimes against national security and the laws of nation, conspiracy and proposal is punished by law. Article 116, misprision of treason, in its simpler terms, misprision of treason is the knowledge of conspiracy against the government of the Philippine Islands or the United States. This is still in the United States. I think we are still in under colony of the United States when this provision is enacted. Every person owing allegiance to the United States or the government of the Philippine Islands without being a foreigner and having knowledge of any conspiracy against them conceals or does not disclose. So now kay nabalaan conspiracy against the government of the Philippines or the United States, and then you did not report it, then that's it. It's punishable. Again,